Hi, you look tired.
I'm a tired little boy.
I was about to give up. I think it only took about 8 calls
Oh,
to.
did you ring me quite a few times?
Yeah, yeah,
Shit. Oh,
yeah.
oh yeah, 8 calls. Wow, wait, sorry.
No worries.
I was like, to be honest as well, I thought I put my alarm on for 25 past, and
Yeah,
fine, I just turned it off and just waited. And
yeah,
then when you rang me, I thought, oh, it's only been like a minute, but no, it'd been like 25 minutes.
yeah. It's
So,
all good
oh
though. It's
well.
all good. Here we are.
Yeah, here we
So,
are.
Black
Wow.
Widow. Right. Firstly, what I want to sort of implore listeners to do is try and forget the fact that we have been made to wait for this for over a
Mm,
year, because I think that sort of um, hinders the effects. It builds up too much expectation. I think that's. I'll go in straight away and say that's the biggest problem I think with this film is the expectation that's come through waiting
mm.
the entirety of what we've been through for the last year or more to get to this point.
It kind of
Um,
feel, because it kind of feels like we've been waiting for something really special,
yes,
and
yeah, and I think
it's
it would
not
have,
that.
and I
It's
think
not
it would
that
have.
special.
No, it
Yeah,
would. I think it would have just slipped out.
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
a bit like maybe a bit like maybe a bit like Captain Marvel, a bit like Ant Man
Yeah,
and the Wasp
yeah.
sort of thing, just another one,
Mm,
um, and and it definitely is sort of formulaic, sort of Marvel MCU by numbers in many ways. So we'll get onto the details in a little bit, but what I want to say first of all is it's sort of a cinema experience. I thought it was amazing because it was a sold out screening as much
mm,
as they can be at the moment. So it was the biggest screening in our cinema, obviously like 50% capacity because of COVID or whatever, but it was the most full I've been in a cinema for
yeah.
ages, and it was dead good because you could tell everyone there was there. Everyone knew the MCU, and everyone was there
Mm,
for the same sort of reasons, and like collective, like little. There's like a few chuckles throughout the film that we'll maybe speak about in a little bit, and like that collective sense of like other people go like that, and getting on. And then at the end of the film, because I was with Johnny, and he started to get up, I was like, mate, stay
what are you
put,
doing?
sort of thing.
Don't be
And
daft. What are
he
you
started
doing?
looking around, going, "How does everyone know to stay?" I was like, "It's a Marvel film. Come on, like." And
Yeah.
everyone just stays sat in the seat waiting through the credits. It's really, so as an experience, I really enjoyed myself, and I think people need to remember that. Whilst the other option for this film, obviously, is the fact that today it's
Mm,
released simultaneously on Disney Plus Premium Pass, 20 quid
yeah.
sort of thing. Um, and it is a film that's made for cinema. It's sort of like very sort of high action sort of thing. Not
I
all of it good action, but
Yeah, and again, sorry to keep sort of jumping in.
no, please
I
do.
would be, I would be very surprised if people watch this on Disney Plus. I just think people will go, you know what? Let's go to the cinema
Yeah,
and do
yeah,
it. And I think this is the first one that I really feel that Disney Plus release is redundant. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I
Completely.
think people will, but I think they will see a lot, like a much, so what I'm looking at, like a much larger number
Yeah,
of kind of people actually going to the cinema to watch it, rather than like Mulan where nobody really cares. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So let's set the scene because it's a bit tricky. And
Mm,
well, can we start off by seeing where we last left Black Widow in the MCU? Because this
mm,
threw me, and I'm not going to say why, but it threw me.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, so is it Endgame where she dies?
Yeah, so obviously, we're in spoilers. It's going to have to be a
Yeah,
spoiler review. So yeah, so
yeah,
the last time we were with Natasha, it was in Endgame where her and Clint are hanging off a cliff on a
that's
planet
it. Yeah, yeah,
Vormir, and she sacrifices herself for the Soul Stone, isn't it? And
yeah,
she dies, and they make this big point of saying, you know, that's it. She's not coming back. It doesn't count in the kind of the snap sort of thing to bring people
sure.
back. She's
Yeah, yeah.
gone, and that's it. Yeah.
So this is set. I mean, you get a bit of a sort of backstory that's set in 1995,
Mm.
set in Ohio, and then we move forward to 2016, which, correct me if I'm wrong, set after Civil War.
Yeah, so just after, literally, it picks up sort of right after the events of Captain America: Civil War. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got Scarlett Johansson's character Natasha. I mean, the backstory of the 1995. It's a family setting. She's a young girl. She's got a younger sister. They live in Ohio. She's got these parents, and they have to flee. It kind of quickly turns out that there's something quite special about Dad. You see, well, you basically see him. He's got the same sort of super soldier sort of qualities as Captain America, and they go on this ridiculous. They go to this little air hangar and get on a plane, and there's a stupid action scene where Dad, David Harper,
it's David Harper,
is hanging onto a wing while shooting people. This plane goes off anyway, and then the girls get taken away. Not going to say much more than that, but then it goes to present day, and girls find each other. Younger sister is now Florence Pugh, who's another assassin. There's this sort of mind control stuff going on, isn't there? And
apparently.
It's all right. I'm going to start with where do I start? I don't know where I start. Let's start with Ray Winston.
Well, I think maybe the first thing to say is, once again, up there with some of the finest, voice and accent work in the history of cinema from Ray Winston, all the way, looking back to his fine work in
The Departed,
things like that. Is it Cockney? Is it American? Well, I'll tell you one thing, it's definitely not Russian. It is
bizarre.
Awful.
Oh, man. Of all the people, I don't get that casting at all, because the other thing I was thinking as well is because it was an opportunity, I think, because you've got such like a strong female cast here. Why does it have to be a Cockney bloke with a Russian accent like doing it? Why can't it be? I don't know who I'd cast instead, but it didn't have to be a bloke, did it?
No, not necessarily. But then also, I quite like that. Well, not like, but I feel like it towards the end, and again, without trying to give away too much, there's a certain. Well, there's kind of a reveal at the end where he's kind of almost coded something into these girls where they can't hurt him, and there's almost a fairly uncomfortable scene towards the end where he's literally beating the crap out of her, and I feel like if it was a female character doing it, I may have not felt quite as uncomfortable. And I feel like there's more of a payoff then later on. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I quite like just flitting around a bit here. Going back to the sort of setup that you've got early on with the backstory. Other than this action scene, I quite liked the sort of like the setup there. But there's a few cliched bits. There's a definite why do we fall, Bruce? Bit. Yeah. It's like, okay, we're coming back to that, are we? There's some cool stuff. I quite like the use of. There's like a cover of "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah, that was really nice.
The opening credits, isn't there? What was striking in this film more than any other, and I'm getting tired of it, when the way these action scenes are shot. This disorientating close up, all you see is just like limbs flying across the screen, sort of thing, and there's almost no art to the choreography of the action and the fighting and stuff. It's just you're in it, and it's
where are you talking about there? Because there's definitely kind of two types of kind of action scene in this film. So there's
the close-up combat mainly.
Yes, so you've got the stuff where like Natasha goes to Budapest, and that's where we first
Budapest.
Because
we're going to be saying Budapest properly. We need to do a bit of dialogue first of all to acknowledge the fact that we are saying it properly. Budapest.
Okay,
not
sorry.
Budapest.
Sorry. But when they're in Budapest, there's definitely kind of a a style which hints back to kind of the Bourne films, you know, this kind of close combat kind of like you're saying, but it's done in a little bit more of a gritty sort of way. You know, that scene in that apartment is it could just be taken straight from, you know, the Bourne Identity or something like that.
Yeah.
However, later on when we get to like your bigger action scenes, I agree with you. There was just nothing special about those scenes whatsoever. I've got a bit more to say about those, but we'll, you know, you carry on. And we'll
I'll carry on a little bit. Okay, so she's got her own Q pops up in it, and I quite like him. English fellow, isn't he? He's like a director. I was looking into him. What's his name?
Yeah, he's in The Handmaid's Tale. He's the kind of husband in The Handmaid's Tale.
OT Fagbenny. I quite liked him, but I mean, it was very much a device to.
Definitely.
Right, this was grating on me as well. Why do films now have to be so self-aware? So, like, you know, the whole joke thing about her pose, which I thought was quite funny at first, but they kept going on with it. The fact that she poses and lifts her head up like that. It's like, okay, we get it. You're aware of yourself. Oh, right, you're saying it again, and this is an ongoing joke. And it's a bit like the Peter Rabbit 2 thing, but go on. Yeah.
Well, it would have been funnier if Deadpool had not done it. You know, it's the superhero pose, isn't it? It's also superhero landing. And it's you know it's good for one joke, but they just don't leave it alone. They just keep going and doing it.
There were whole set pieces that were just contrived and pointless. So there's the big breakout of prison, and you're like, well, why is he in prison in the first place? And why are we having to break out like that? And okay, you've just shot that rocket for the sole purpose of creating an avalanche just because it would look cool, and that entire sequence didn't need to happen. And then there was a bit in the middle where I started to nod off. I didn't nod off, but I just felt myself just going like that. And then it started to heat up, and I thought, bloody hell, this is getting on a bit, and it's only just sort of cranking up now. And I looked at my watch; it was 1 hour 25 minutes into the film. And it felt like it was only just started up there. So, 2 hours 15 minutes this film, and me and Johnny both said could have taken half an hour off it. Fine, and it would have still been a good film, but been a bit more efficient. You know, it was engaging. It was interesting. I like the interesting sort of side of like the backstory sort of stuff. I like the way they introduced. I think Florence Pugh, brilliant in everything. I didn't think her accent was amazing in this, to be honest with you. I think it kept slipped every now and then, but she's still ultimately just. I mean, I've not seen a bad performance out of Florence Pugh yet, to be honest with you. But yeah, I thought it's going to be forgetful. Forgettable. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, you know what? I feel fairly similar. It's well, I suppose we'll sort of get to that. Yeah. So Ray wins. They should have cast, and I don't know. I don't mean this time. I think he's still alive. Boris from Snatch. You know he's in like I think he's in like Mission Impossible 2. He's in I can't remember his name now, but he's he plays that slimy Russian in everything. Do you know what I mean? And he would have just been perfect at it all the way through. And I suppose he's not in it loads, but anytime Ray Winston was on screen talking, I was like, what is going on? Like it is dreadful.
Terrible casting.
It sounds bad. Like if I was the director, I'd have to do something about it because it's just so great. And especially when they get to this base.
Yes. Oh God,
end, which we'll talk about in a second. I was just like, as soon as he started speaking, I was like, oh, he's American, isn't it? Oh no,
he's not.
He's Cockney. No, he's what is that? And it's just awful.
You just go stop rolling.
Yeah,
start working with an accent.
Or let's dub him. Let's overdub him. But it was just awful, and I think the fact that I was focusing more on that than what was going on in the scenes kind of says a lot about the film, to be honest. I like the kind of family dynamic, you know, and it's almost, it's the Fast and the Furious thing, isn't it? You know, family. But I quite liked it, and I liked how, you know, the kind of reveal. Again, we're in spoilers, but the reveal is, you know, they're not a family. They're all spies, and they've kind of been put together on this mission for 3 years. But for Florence Pugh's character Yelena, she was only 6 at the time, so for her, it felt like a real family dynamic. And I think for me, actually, the film actually was more about her and her dynamic than Natasha. And unfortunately, and whether it's, you know, unfortunately for Natasha's character and character arc overall, I feel like this film was actually more to set up Florence Pugh taking over that kind of Black Widow mantle moving forward, which is going to happen, let's face it. But I did like that family dynamic. It's about accepting your family for what they are and who they are, really, and not about idolizing, you know, this having this sort of picture perfect image of this, you know, like the 2.4 children sort of thing. It's actually, you know, they're not perfect, but actually, you know, the family. It's a
dysfunctional functional family.
And I actually quite liked when the 4 get back together. There's one little scene around a table, and it's, you know, it's very heavy-handed, but it's quite charming, that kind of, they slip back into that family dynamic. It's like, you're slouching, Natasha, sit up, Natasha. And again, definitely some questionable Russian accents being thrown around there, but whatever. You know, the powerful women, you know, theme throughout is something you can't, you know, miss definitely, but fine by me. Great. It was brilliant. And I loved seeing, you know, when the women do start taking charge, you know, towards the end, it's you kind of like, yes, go on, get your own back, you know, whatever. And especially to Ray Winston and his accent. I love David Harbour. Okay, I'm a big Stranger Things fan, and I liked him in a lot of things he's been in before. And I thought, you know, as the comedy relief or comic relief in this film, I did think he was brilliant, and I really like that dynamic of, you know, the Red Guardian. Again, as we've said before, I'm you know, I like my kind of comics, and I'm aware of a lot of these characters, and it's quite an interesting take of that kind of Red Guardian, because essentially, what in the comics, what happens? Russia copy Captain America, do their own one, and he's a legit kind of force in the kind of Marvel comics. But I like it, this one, he's not really. No. Do you know what I mean? He's past his prime, and he's clinging to those sort of to what once was. And I love the fact that he just sort of lies about his victories, and in prison he's like, yes, when I was fighting Captain America and I beat Captain America. And they're like, what year was this? And he was like, 83, 84. And they're like, Captain America was frozen then. And it's just like, he just lies about everything. It's just funny. And you can tell he's having an absolute ball doing it, and, you know, playing that character, which is really, really funny. You know, Scarlett Johansson, bankable as ever in this long-awaited sort of, and long-awaited and well-deserved solo outing. And she's good in it, she is. And, you know, we can't deny she was always the kind of the gel that held these films together when you know, whenever she's in them. So, you know, the standout ones is Iron Man 2, but that's very, very kind of problematic, her character in that. But the big ones, obviously, the first Avengers film, and definitely Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And, you know, she's great in it. But as I said earlier, the standout for me is Florence Pugh. She brings that kind of heart and the soul to the film. A bit of comedy, you know, we said it, they overdo it slightly, but it is what it is. But definitely brings those action chops to Yelena. And as I said, you know, she's obviously going to be the next Black Widow. But I think it's quite interesting, especially with the kind of post-credits tease, what they're going to do with her first. And again, we won't give that away too much, but there's another well, all I'll say is there's another TV series in the making.
Right,
and she's going to be in it. We'll just maybe say it that way.
That makes sense. Because somebody else in the post-credit scene is a big part in
another TV series. And the actual reveal of that, or we'll say her character, was supposed to be, the first time we were supposed to see her was in this. because obviously this was supposed to come out before Captain America Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but actually it didn't matter that much. Do you know what I mean? So that's quite interesting how they kind of did that. I like that kind of fugitiveness of the kind of first act with Scarlet and Florence Pugh. It's almost like a bit of a road movie. But for me, kind of ultimately, overall, the film felt just a bit vanilla, and there's nothing wrong with vanilla.
No.
I like a nice vanilla ice cream every now and again, and I'll enjoy.
Especially it's those Madagascar vanilla pods.
Exactly, and it's those. Or let's say a baked Alaska, a certain ice cream brand's baked Alaska. You get great little bits in it. The little chocolate polar bears, fantastic.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, it's still vanilla, and it's not it's not a Raspberry Ripple. Whereas Thor Ragnarok. It's a Raspberry Ripple. This is a vanilla. This is vanilla, like a lot of the other films that you sort of mentioned.
Vanilla extract rather than vanilla essence.
Exactly.
But
I like that. There you go.
Yeah.
So for me, I think forgettable villains. Taskmaster was wasted. Taskmaster is a really, really big villain in the comics and a very kind of overwhelming presence, and it was very wasted in this one, unfortunately. Daft concept, rubbish CGI at times.
There's an explosion near the end where I was like, was that done on an app? That's ridiculous.
That's bad. I question whether, and there's that scene with Florence Pugh and Scarlet and then this big explosion, and I question whether that was a reshoot and they dropped it in last minute because it was dreadful, really bad. Gravity doesn't exist again as usual in a lot of these films, and physics doesn't mean anything. But we're in the MCU, so it's fine. But ultimately, it's a fairly bland entry in the MCU. It's not terrible, and it's not as stale an origin as we've seen, because it's not an origin. We didn't need this origin, but actually it's not the classics like the Guardians or Thor Ragnarok. But unfortunately, Natasha's character wouldn't work, and it would never lend itself to those types of wilder outings.
No,
which is a shame, but it's a fairly safe entry in the whole sort of series, and it's fine. And and that's it. I enjoyed myself. I came away going, yeah, it was all right, but it could have been something else.
So that's Scarlet done in the MCU, right?
In theory, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. So yeah, cool. It's a good final outing, but yeah, it's not up there with the finest. Would you say, Gregory, this film is? Okay, we'll do this one. Waking Ned or Army of the Dead, which you didn't even see, but it's fine.
Didn't see. I feel like that we need it. We really need it.
Yeah. I mean, Waking Ned's not brilliant, so
no,
it's fine.
I know. So we'll go for that. I'm so on the fence. Yeah. But yeah, okay. What about you?
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you. Again, it wasn't a bad, you're going to go in, you're not going to come away, no one's going to come away thinking that was terrible. Other than Stephen Dorff coming away saying that was terrible. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Steve,
sorry.
Did you not see that? Stephen Dorff, the 90s actor.
Oh, God, yeah.
He turned around, I don't even think he'd seen it. He was like, I'm embarrassed for it. Well, we're embarrassed for you, Stephen Dorff.
I'm holding out for the next Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott or Stanley Kubrick. Like, I don't think they're going to work with you, mate. Since Blade. I did enjoy Blade. That was good.
Very quickly, you probably got the same trailers as me. So you've got the Eternals trailer, big Eternals trailer in there, and Shang-Chi. And then the trailer for Jungle Cruise. Catch Jesse Plemons popping up in it.
Yeah. Pops up in his submarine. I actually quite like that. Gordon Target or whatever it says. Amazing. Cool. Where can we see this film then, Greg?
Black Widow is available in cinemas now, and it's also available through premium streaming services. But go to cinema. Yeah.
Easy. Cool.
Oh, just while we're still here before we go to the jingle, because this is the bit of the podcast where we've gone forward in time.
Yes, correct.
Would acknowledge the football. You got drawn into the football last night, didn't you?
I did get drawn into the football, surprisingly.
Yeah, quite enjoyable.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
you don't care. I'm sure you still don't care, but you care a little bit more.
I don't care, Greg.
But you care a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? It was fine. My mother-in-law was texting me saying, "This is a great football match," and I was like, "This is a football match."
Well, I enjoyed myself. I was jumping up and down.
Yeah, you only enjoyed yourself because you won like 100 quid or something.
I did win 100 quid on my bets. Don't gamble. Gambling's for mugs. But yes, I did. Will you be watching on Sunday night?
I presume so.
Yes. Good. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Okay.
Anyway, now back in time, 24 hours to the night before, and we were recording before we saw Black Widow.